I'm going to call the meeting of the City of Groton Water Pollution Control Authority for June 5th, 2017 to order. Clerk Patrick, please call the roll.
Present are Mayor Keith Hedrick, Deputy Mayor Lawrence Garish, Councilors Jill Rusk, Jamal Bedford, Stephen Sheffield, Conrad Heed, Richard Carter, Finance Director Ron Newhouse, Clerk Deborah Patrick.
Okay, thank you. Next item of business is to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of April 3rd, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay, motion carries. Next is review the management report dated 1 June 2017. Director Uhas or Kevin, who wants to?
Hi, everybody. A couple of things. Most of you know me, but not everybody does. I'm the chief plant operator. Actually, I've been there 35 years. We have another gentleman that's been there a little bit longer than me, and we also have Steve Scarp has been there about 15 years, and then we have two other operators that came through our internship program. So I figured I would pass out my cards. Most people have had a tour, but anybody that wants a tour, you can contact me or go through Heidi if you've been before and want another tour. Or the best thing is to just shoot me an email, and we're there. We can accommodate. Somebody's there every day of the year. On the weekends, it's in the morning, but we can accommodate you for a tour of the place anytime. And if you would suit to all come together, we can do that and work through the mayor or whatever. But if you ever have any questions, you can always email me and I'd get back to you. Just a couple of the highlight things. So, and then the director, Gaudet, is going to give you an update on that digester tank and what we propose to get that thing back up and running. So on some of our photos, part of the stuff there was because we're using the secondary digester for our sludge processing now, we have to mix it with a mechanical mixing pump, piston pump, rather than the original design. So we had to rebuild that, so it shows a couple of the operators taking that bull gear apart. As stated in the report, the dock's in. We were able to hire some good, decent summer help this year. He's a college kid that's going to UConn Avery Point, so we'll have him for a couple of years. In fact, his sister worked there. Some of you remember Kelsey Reeves. It's her younger brother.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah,
oh.
Yep. So what we also started doing is cleaning up on what would be the south side facing the park, because we're anticipating good things for the park there when you eventually get the pier and stuff. So we're doing a little bit of landscaping work. You'll see there's some we're going to have some sunflowers coming up across there. So we're trying to kind of set our little legacy so we're a good neighbor when that park indeed is open and going. Nitrogen-wise, we're still continually holding our own. I did want to take a note and let you know that, believe it or not, the state pulled a number on us. They give us a proposed number for the nitrogen, and what they say is we figured this is what the price of a credit's going to be. And what happened this year was there was a lot more people that did good, including like we always do, and we were getting money back. So to offset that, they dropped the price of a credit because they didn't have enough people paying in that they used to offset with money. So they didn't have enough paying in. So the money that had to come out always has to just about break even. So unfortunately, for doing the right thing and removing a ton of nitrogen, we don't get back as much money as we anticipated, but we will be getting back some money. So now you'll see going in 2017, Jim's using the figure that they gave us this year. So that's where that is. So we continue to remove nitrogen. On the good side, the bad side is that, it doesn't look like they're going to pay us as much for doing it. But there again, we didn't do anything. We didn't bond out money or have to retrofit the plant. For those of you, we can take you through that whole process. Everybody developed stuff with our lab tech in-house to be able to take essentially a 1972 plant that wasn't designed and make it be able to remove nitrogen. And then we have our official statement where the governor had showed some appreciation to us guys down in down always in the lowest ends of the city with our Operator Appreciation Day. It's the third year in a row that he's recognized as his operator, so that's kind of cool stuff. So that's about it. And like I say, Director Gaudet is going to go through and give you kind of an update over vision. We met with the mayor one day and show you where we're going with that digestion tank. And then Ron's here too to talk about insurance, whatever, unless somebody else has a question for me.
Kevin, I guess there was a listing of a possible blockage going on. Anything?
Yeah, there's a gentleman that lives across the street. He keeps a
Okay.
pretty good eye on us. He's
All
like
right.
he's like the seventh man.
I think I know who you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah. He thought it turned out it was something internally in his house, but
Okay.
he was very scared that something had happened to the plant. So he
Okay.
called me directly, and we sent some guys down there, pulled the manhole, made sure everything was fine, and it was indeed just his house. So.
Okay.
That would have been a huge blockage, but I'm glad he did what he did.
Right,
You know,
okay.
he was afraid that something was wrong with the plant.
Okay.
Anything else for Kevin? Okay, thank you, Kevin.
Okay, and I just want to thank everybody for serving on these boards. I know my wife's on the RTM, and I see firsthand what it takes to prepare yourselves and, you know, do these jobs, you know, in your own time, taken away from your family. So I thank you for that. Look forward to you coming out for a tour.
And if you haven't had the opportunity to tour the plant, I strongly encourage you to tour the WPCA and also the water treatment plant, both of them. You'll have a new appreciation for coming and going. So, Director, good day.
Just as a note of commentary, everybody knows that the way sewage systems are designed is it all just, it's gravity fed and it all goes downhill, right? So when you're running a plant, you have to run it so it always runs, and you don't have a choice because no matter what, it just keeps coming and it just keeps flowing and it just keeps going. It's just the way it is. So, you know, these guys have to be top notch to keep it going the way it does, because no matter what, it's just going to keep coming, go right through and go out. And if you don't treat it right, it's pollution. So that's what these guys do every day. Last week we did get, I'm going to go to the digester now. So we have a primary digester and a secondary digester. So the primary digester runs under pressure, and that's the tank that actually blew its top up and off, or crooked it. So last week we got the final structural report, and Mayor, or Ron, please correct me if I'm wrong, with anything I bring up as I go through this whole thing. So the structural report basically did an analysis of the tank body and says, well, geez, the tank itself seems structurally fine. The cover seems like it might be structurally fine, but you're going to have to figure out a way to get it back on or replace it. And they also took a look at a couple of different causes that may have happened, because we were concerned that if we put it all back together, it could happen again. So what we discovered is that that tank, the primary digester tank, collects a lot of rags and wipes and debris in it over time, and you really need to keep the cleaning periodicity up. So it appears that there was normally there's a scum layer that goes on the top of these tanks, but this isn't a scum layer. This is actually a thick, what would you call it?
Island.
Like an island or a rag layer or something like that. The tank always keeps about the same level. That's just the way it runs. And there's vents up at the top. So it's thought that the rag island got thick enough that it actually blocked the vents at the top of the tank and caused it to overpressurize and blew the top. So if you run, do you know what the pressure is in this tank normally?
It's measured, any of those, it's measured in manometers.
Yeah,
so
it's
into the
inches.
water column.
It's
So
inches,
like-
but when you've got a cover as big as this room and you have a couple of inches of pressure, it's a lot of pressure over that entire volume. That's what caused it to lift.
Yeah, it's 12 to 14 on the manometers, so it's a huge volume of gas.
So we came up with a couple of things to make sure we have prevention, which is increase the cleaning periodicity of that tank, empty it and clean it, and that actually would go for the secondary digester too. And also to do more diligence up in the front end of the plant, where the sewage comes in and the flow goes through, where you have screens, to keep that debris from getting in that far into the plant. So the idea is to do better screen maintenance so that you prevent it from getting there, and then increase the periodicity of the cleaning inside the tanks. It's a big deal to clean these tanks. It's not a $20,000 thing to clean these tanks. You're talking $150,000 or so to clean these tanks. So the idea would be in the future to watch the periodicity that we do that, and do it more. Something like this happens, you do it more until it's proven that you can relax that a little bit. At this point, as soon as we fix the primary tank, the secondary tank will have to be cleaned. We can't do that now until we put the primary tank back in service. So at this point, we have a couple of options to go into a fix. And what we're going to propose to the insurance company, if they accept it, is what might be called a quick fix, which is we actually rig the tank in the exterior area so we can take a crane, attach it to the cover, and try to get the cover to pop off. So we can take the cover off, take it down, take a look at it, make sure it's pretty good, and then lay it back on, re-cement it in, and let it go. And we're thinking that something like that would be on the order of magnitude of not more than 100. And these are swags. These are my swags. Don't take this stuff personal, or to the mat on it. More in the order of 100, 150,000 or less. And that if that works, that's a good thing. If the crane, getting around that cover can't pop it off, we actually will have to cut that cover off. The cover itself is on the order of magnitude of, I think the quote on that cover was more $150,000-ish just for the cover. And then the total to get to basically demo the cover, cut it all off, and then install the new cover will be on the order of magnitude of $250,000 to $300,000 is the thought. Still to be priced out and done in detail. That would probably have to get bid, that job. So right now we're proposing to the insurance company the first fix. And if we're lucky, we'd get out of that for on the order of magnitude of maybe 50 or 60. Because it should be a team of guys, a crane, less than 2 weeks, like 10 days. Yeah, so that won't be anywhere near 100 grand. Questions, comments?
The other challenge with this is we can't order a new cover until we determine that this cover is usable or not. The problem with that is there's a 26-week lead time, requires 6 months for the cover. So that's one of the things that we're facing. In addition, one of the things that we've identified is that because we're down to one digester, we have increased sludge loads.
Oh, yeah.
That we're having to send off. So that's an increase in cost that was not anticipated for this next year. So we are going to be tracking the budget closely to keep track of that and keep track of the budget. Now the good news is, Ron, I'll let you take it from here. Well, the good news is most of this should be covered by insurance.
Correct.
Right? The overage, any cost, we have a $10,000, is that what you told me?
Yeah, right now it's in Hartford Steam Boiler, who underwrites for Kerma, who is our main insurance company. They've accepted the claim under the equipment malfunction and damaged portion of the policy. So there is a $10,000 deductible for that, and then anything above and beyond will be insurance.
So
that's where we're at right now. There is also another piece of it, which is the environmental portion, which Kerma uses Chubb Environmental, I believe it is, that underwrites that policy. There's another $10,000 deductible with that. So it's a matter of some of these things just finding out which bucket it's going to fall into. So there's potentially a $20,000 deductible between the two.
But we're keeping track of any cost above what would be normal for operation of one digester. excuse me, that includes any repairs to the tank itself, any repairs of the new roof, top cover rather, that needs to be on there, and the additional cost to the waste disposal and everything, anything else associated with that, so that we can be reimbursed by our insurance company in order to minimize the negative impact fiscally to us as a city. So I just want to get that out. Deputy Mayor Garrish, you had a comment.
Well, I was just going to ask, what are the odds that you'll be able to save the existing cover? I mean, how confident are you that maybe you can remove it with the crane and save it?
Kevin's actually worked with this guy.
So, Hart Construction, that actually did our rehab project, they were finishing up when this occurred. And the gentleman, Billy Rose, who I really was impressed with, he's been at this for 30-some years in the construction aspect. He's seen this happen in other areas, and he actually right away had said, hey, I've fixed a couple of these like that already. And that's what we kind of waited to see what the engineers said, and then, I've kind of, talked about it like, you might have a failed septic system and the engineers see you need a whole new thing, and then an old plumber you've known for years says, wait a minute, I could probably fix a pipe.
Yeah.
So what do? You say, all right, we'll do the pipe, and so he's kind of like that guy. He's very, I would say, confident. He's coming down this week. I think Ron may be there, and he's going to bring a couple of his construction guys with him, take a look at it. But, he's one of these guys, when he looked at it, he says, yeah, the crane foot goes here. We have to dewater one of the primary tanks so he can jack up so that the weight of the crane foot can go on it. He's one of the, he just looked at it and, I weld the tab here, I pull it here, I get it level, I pull the tab there, and so he seemed pretty confident, and I have great confidence in him.
Good. That sounds good.
That's where that is, yeah.
Good, thank you.
Any, Councilor Rusk?
How soon are you looking at starting this project?
Probably as soon as we get the insurance companies okay that it's a plan.
Right, I've had phone conversations, we've been in contact with them. I spoke with Jim from Hartford Steam Boiler, Alex and Brendan Gillis, both from Kerma. And the plan is to once this report is to them, to sit down with them and get a game plan together as to how to proceed. I think they're gonna go along with try to take the cover off and fix it, but I think they wanna make sure that it's not completely gone and we're trying to do something that is just not gonna be worth it. So they just wanna sit and have a meeting and talk about that.
Councilor Rusk?
What are the dangers of having just one digester for a long period of time? I mean, I'm thinking, I know like when we have a hurricane or something like that, you guys end up with a lot more water, a lot more sewage coming through just because of all the excess water. Are we able to handle a storm with just one digester?
Actually, the the storms and stuff like that are the actual water coming through the plant. So the digester actually is what are the solids.
Okay.
So that won't pose any issue.
Good.
I'd like to add too is one of the things that was kind of tossed around, but in that particular area, because we are so close to the neighbors, the way we take care of the sludge with an anaerobic digestion, there's very little to no odor. And the benefits of it, we get the gas production, so we run the heat exchanger, we heat the buildings with it and stuff. And I think, Director Gaudet said the important part of it is that, with these wipes and the amount of wipes that have been coming in the past few years, that it kind of just caught us off on that cycle of recommendation for cleaning. And I have talked to Deep, and they're probably going to relook at that and make another suggestion manual to bring it down more closer to that 5-year range. But it poses no danger to us or anything like that, but it is a good process. I don't want you to think that we're trying to, it's been there since 1955 was the original digesters, and then 72 it's the first time we ever had a failure, and I wholeheartedly attribute it to the wipes problem, and
And when you're saying wipes, you're talking about people flushing baby wipes.
yes.
So
exactly.
people, please don't flush baby wipes.
Yeah.
It's
No,
huge.
it's not just people, although we are going to give a demonstration at one of our WPCAs of things that we don't want you to put in to the waste system, but it's also, some of it's coming from a plant, right?
Yeah,
We think
yeah, we
there's-
do, see, yeah, we're gonna start trying to document, you know, and then even the collection system crew, you know, they were doing some cleaning, and, you know, they knew that they had done the entire line, and they went back to finish up, and they saw big piles of baby wipes and paper towels and everything. So we did a wipes campaign several years back. In fact, our intern Kelsey Reeves had made the flyers, so they knew enough presents. They came back, got some flyers from us, and they said, is there a and they went and they knocked on the people's doors, and they said, could you please take a look at this? Because when you're looking in the pipes and the manholes, you know where the stuff's coming from. It's just, you know, it's pretty simple.
Another challenge that we have, if you remember, in the last, I guess, 6 months or a year, we've replaced some pumps. Because the plunger type pumps we had before were getting clogged. Well, now the kinds of pumps that we have in there are passing through the wipes, so they're not getting plugged anymore, so it's not getting caught up at the pumping station, which is the good news. But the bad news is it's being passed through, so now we're having to look at the screening process to make sure that the screening process is effective enough in order to catch the wipes before they get into the tank. And then the challenge is the challenge is this: we're going to get the wipes. As we can go knock on people's doors and everything else, but people are going to put wipes in, and we're going to get the wipes. People take the the Armor All wipes and the baby wipes and all the other wipes that say flushable. They're flushable, but they're not biodegradable, and that's the problem because they get caught up in here. And so some of those get through, and that's why we're going to need to look at our maintenance and then clean these tanks more frequently. With the cost of that, we're going to have to talk about how we're going to fund that. And I don't know if we go along, all of a sudden there's a bump in 150, or if we set up something like a pool where you put aside money every year so that you level it, out so we don't have peaks and valleys. We haven't gotten that far yet as far as how we're going to pay for it and how we're going to manage it and budget for it. But that is something that, go ahead, Ron.
In the past, that's how it was budgeted. There was a set amount set every year in the budget
Okay.
that got transferred over, so you didn't have that peaks and valleys. And I
Okay.
think I'm not sure offhand exactly how much money is sitting in that reserve fund.
Okay, then we'll take a look at that. We may have to raise it depending on, one, frequency, and two, current cost. But those are the things. Councilor Rusk.
Sorry. Did the campaign do any, did it help? Did you see
Yes,
a
it did.
decrease?
What we did was we measured how much was coming in the stations
Mhm.
and how much was coming in at the thing, and it did. But I've gone to a lot of Newey events, and all through New England, the same thing. People forget quick. So, we did it right around City Day when we launched the campaign and everything, and then we handed out flyers, and they also did them in the mailers, and Tina had sent them out to everybody. And we did see a decline, but then it slowly started bringing back up. And in fact, I see on Channel 2, the town of Groton WPCA does have a revolving commercial now. They don't speak about it, it's just you got to read it, but it says, this, toilet isn't a trash can, and these things are supposed to stay out. But
I think education's a great way to at least make a dent in it.
Sure.
It's cheap, and it's a whole lot less than $150,000 to send out a couple pamphlets at City Day, and let people be educated. I know it's not going to solve the problem, but hopefully it will decrease it at least for a while.
And I know in the past, in Newey, a lot of the conferences, a lot of people targeted the schools because the kids will go home and they'll go, hey, guess what we learned today? We're not supposed to be putting this stuff down,
Right.
down the drain. It's costing us, money. And then sometimes it clicks with the parents like, oh, wow, okay.
Right.
So you start from the bottom and work up.
Thank you.
Maybe we could try something like that.
Councilor Heath.
I may not want to do this, but I'll say it anyways. A good way to get people's attention is to charge them for it. So if you have a line item on a bill that says something to the effect of wipes cleanup fee or whatever, wipes removal fee, and then you have a little asterisk next to it with a little story on your bill, every single time you pay that 50 cents or $5, you get mad. And then you remember, don't throw it down the toilet. Just a thought.
We just passed the
Hold that thought.
Thank you, I guess. Any other comments? Director G'day, anything else? Okay. Is there any old business? Okay, we got a new business. Is there any new business? All right, with that, need a motion to adjourn.
I move the adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Okay, we're adjourned.